Okay, now let's talk about evaluation. For your evaluation inference rights, they will normally give you subject, aspect, and claim, and then they will ask you, do the sources in the case study agree or disagree with this claim? All right, so they give you the subject, they give you the aspect, they give you the claim. Then you need to look at each source individually. Okay, determine whether the claim of each source actually matches with the statement, the main statement that they gave to you. If it does, then the source agrees with the statement. If it doesn't, you will say the source disagrees with the statement. But you have to make sure that the subject, aspect and aspect is the same. Then this is very crucial, especially for evaluation. The reason is very, very important. In what way? The central idea of the source itself. In what way is it making the claim? Alright? This is very important. Whether you agree, you disagree, your reason needs to be very clear. Okay, so for example, this is a typical question, right? British rule or Hitler's rule or any other rule, right, was beneficial for the country. This case for Singapore. How far do the sources agree? Now, can you see my subject is here, the British, my aspect is here, British rule, and my claim is here, beneficial for Singapore. So subject, British aspect, their rule and claim beneficial, reason not given. The reason is a thing that you need to find out for. Okay, first find out whether the source matches with this subject aspect claim, then figure out what exactly the reason is, and explain the reason as far as possible in your own words. Okay, please explain in your own words. Okay, make extensions and do them one source at a time. One source at a time. Leave a blank between each source's paragraph. Leave a blank, okay, between each source, because you don't want to give the marker a headache. You want to make your thing very neat and very clear for the marker to give you marks. Let's look at this one. Source A. Okay, let's look at this first paragraph answer that I will give. Source A agrees. Okay, so I ATQ the question, please. Agrees that British rule. Okay, talking about the same subject, talking about the same aspect, talking about the same claim. It agrees is beneficial. And then, based on the source evidence, I must pick out the reason. In this case, my reason is here. Enable Singaporeans to achieve prosperity. Okay, my clear reason stated right here. Okay, then I will explain this reason as much as possible in my own words in my explanation portion. And of course, I also need to pick the right evidence, the right and relevant evidence. And then I need to be very, very, very convincing in my explanation. Okay, this is one example. Okay, source A agrees British rule in Singapore beneficial. Reason, enabled Singapore to achieve prosperity. Clearly written down, clearly implied from the evidence. Okay, how do I know this? Because the evidence clearly says Singaporeans were able to find employment, right? The evidence is related. It's related to the claim. Okay, it's related to the claim. Prosperity is achieved from employment, but how exactly so? So then I will need to brainstorm as many ways as possible that I can extend this evidence to help to prove the point that British rule in Singapore was beneficial, as it enabled Singaporeans to achieve prosperity. So what does employment actually mean? Employment means they're able to escape poverty, right? So one explanation point, able to escape poverty. Employment means having income, earning a living. 2 explanation points, okay, which allow them to support themselves and their family. 3 explanation points. So I'm very thorough. I have 3 explanation points to help explain and convince the marker that my statement is correct. In the long run, they could improve on their standard of living. 4 explanation points. Okay, normally you don't need so many. 3 is enough. But if you can give 4, then give 4. That will make your explanation very concrete, very tight. Alright, as tight as possible, so that this explanation can confirm that this statement here is valid, that a source agrees that the rule was beneficial because of this main reason that I need to find out. Okay. Now, what if I want to disagree? Okay, this is an example here. My main statement, okay, B disagrees, British rule. Again, I keep my subject, keep my aspect here, keep my claim. Okay, disagrees with this claim of the statement that British rule was beneficial, as it tells me that it was not beneficial. Okay, I know this statement sounds a bit redundant. Okay, but just write it down. Just write it down. It was not beneficial. This is the counterclaim. Okay, because I disagree, so now I have my counterclaim. After I write my counterclaim, then I write down my reason. Okay, why do I have this counterclaim? Because this source as a whole is referring to Singapore as an unsafe place to live in. Therefore, because it's unsafe, British rule was not beneficial for Singapore. Find out this key reason, please, when you do your disagreement. Okay. The full thing will look like this. Okay, main statement, source B disagrees that British rule was beneficial. Repeat the whole statement. As it tells me that it was not beneficial, give me counterclaim. Counterclaim, very clearly, right? Okay, then you say, why does this counterclaim exist? What is the particular aspect this source is referring to? Because Singapore became an unsafe place to live in. Again, this is in my own words. This is not lifted in any way, shape, or form from the source itself. Okay. Then after that, make sure my evidence clearly implies this reason. Okay. Evidence in this case, crime rate increased under British rule. This clearly implies unsafe, but it's not fully explained yet. How does crime rate under British rule imply that it's an unsafe place to live in? I know it sounds quite obvious, but you still need to explain further. So again, look at how many points of explanation I'm going to give. This implies internal security policies by the British was not efficient. 1 explanation point. It did not deter crime from happening. 2 explanation points, leading to possible increased crime such as robbery, murder, and gangsterism, among others. 3 explanation points. I created 3 explanation points in my own words based on this one simple line here, that crime rate increased. So what? Internal security policies not effective. Crime is not deterred. Robbery, murder, gangsterism still exists. Hence, all these 3 explanations clearly implies the reason that I give here, that Singapore is an unsafe place to live in. And therefore, because of this reason, I can claim, my claim is true, that source B would disagree that British rule is beneficial, as was not beneficial, as it tells me that it was an unsafe place to live in. So, it's very important in your evaluation, you do paragraphs separately, and you also make sure you provide the reason, the clear reason in your first line. Okay, and then you make sure your evidence is relevant enough to imply the reason that you give. And finally, please explain in your own words 3 to 4 extension lines in your own words to extend further upon the evidence, so that you can convince the marker that what you say in your first line or statement is true. Okay, and that is how you do a proper evaluation question.